Lecture 3, The Hidden Fire, Mystical Elements in Marx. There is a peculiar embarrassment that settles over Marx's scholarship whenever someone raises the question of mysticism in Marx. The usual response is to treat it as a category error. Marx was a materialist, a scientist of history, the great demystifier. To speak of mystical elements in his thought seems like a kind of intellectual sabotage, or at best, a romantic misreading. But I want to suggest tonight that this embarrassment is itself revealing, and that a more honest engagement with Marx's intellectual formation and his characteristic modes of thought will show us something stranger and more interesting than the standard picture allows. Let me be precise about what I mean by mystical elements, because I am not claiming that Marx secretly believed in spirits, or that capital is a disguised grimoire. What I am pointing to is something more structural, the way certain patterns of thought, certain rhetorical and conceptual strategies, certain visions of history and transformation that are native to the Western mystical tradition survive and are transformed within his ostensibly secular materialism. The mystical tradition did not simply disappear when Enlightenment rationalism arrived. It went underground, changed its vocabulary, and re-emerged in unexpected places. Marx is one of those places. The alchemical structure of capital. Let us begin with a passage that anyone who has read Capital will remember. Marx is describing the movement of value in its basic circuit, CMC, commodity to money to commodity. A use value is exchanged for money, which is exchanged for another use value. This is, he says, the circuit of simple circulation, the metabolism of everyday economic life. But then he introduces the specifically capitalist form. CM. Money is advanced, commodities are purchased, including, crucially, labor power, and more money is extracted at the end. M becomes M prime, money with a surplus attached. Now, what is remarkable about this formulation is not only its analytical precision, but its metaphysical strangeness. Marx says that value in this circuit undergoes a continuous metamorphosis. That is his word, Verwandlung, transformation, the same word the alchemists used for the transmutation of base metals. Value circulates, changes its form, sheds one body and takes on another, always preserving and augmenting itself through these successive incarnations. Marx himself uses the word incarnation. He says money is the material incarnation, the Fleischwerdung, of abstract human labor. Value takes on flesh, it becomes embodied in commodities, then disembodies itself back into money, then re-embodies again. This is not accidental language. The entire structure of the commodity form in Marx has an alchemical architecture. There is a base material, labor, the expenditure of human energy and time, which is occult, invisible, not directly perceptible. There is a surface form, exchange value, price, the money form, which is the visible, quantitative expression of something that cannot itself be directly seen. The relationship between the two is one of appearance and essence, and getting from one to the other requires a kind of penetration through the veil of appearances that is not so different from what the alchemists called the separation of the subtle from the gross. Paracelsus wrote that the task of the alchemist was to free the hidden virtue, the archeus, from its imprisonment in matter. For Marx, the task of critique is to free the social relation, the hidden fact of human labor and human exploitation, from its imprisonment in the thing form of the commodity. The commodity presents itself as a natural object with natural properties and a natural price. The critical act is to see through this naturalness to the social and historical process that produced it. Both operations involve the same move, a penetration from a misleading surface to a concealed depth, and a recognition that what seemed fixed and given is actually in process, actually alive with a history. Commodity fetishism and the mystical body. The most explicitly theological section of Capital is the famous passage on commodity fetishism at the end of the first chapter, and it is worth dwelling on it carefully because it shows just how deeply Marx had internalized the logic of mystical thought even in the act of critiquing it. The commodity, Marx writes, is a very queer thing, abounding in metaphysical subtleties and theological niceties. He is being ironic, but the irony is double-edged. He is pointing out that what appears to be a simple, ordinary economic object, a table, a pay